Everybody, we gonna put on the show. Nigga, I ain't done yet, I gotta put on some more. Nigga, how you gonna breathe with a foot on your throat? Ask about Benz, got the hood on choke. I don't see shit funny, I'm good on you, joke. Heard it was up, my hood on go. Nigga, how you gonna breathe with a foot on your throat? Yeah, pop out for perk and I get out my body. I'm tryna sleep at the car with my gun, that little motherfucker fit in my pocket. We fired up the blunt and got kicked out the party. Put it out, that shit ain't exotic. The shit talking, that shit make me hotter. Turn me up, make me get out my body. Turn me up, make me get out my body. Go.
The primary purpose of the CAF podcast is to express platform for creatives to express their personal views or opinions without restriction or censorship. All views or opinions expressed during the CAF podcast are solely those of individuals expressing such views or opinions and does not reflect the views of the CAF podcast.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
All right. This is going to have to work.
All right, then. Here we go. Season 8 Cal Podcast, man. We back. Truth or Dare this season, but we got a little side note to this one. We're getting off topic for a second because not too many people get a chance to travel. And when they do travel, I'm talking about out of the states where you got to get a passport, where you got to go through customs, maybe even have to change money. But most people, when they do that type of stuff, they don't get a chance to go home. And I mean home to continents and countries where Black people came from and also where we were enslaved and everything else. So this young lady took a trip. Now she's a mother. She's from Houston, Texas. Trust me, she knows all the Houston, what do you want to say, albums, classic hits, a lot of chopped and screwed, a lot of swinging, a lot of spokes, boppers, name it, whatever. Also, she's an entrepreneur, a designer, and I want to say an intellectual, spiritual human being. So we want to welcome to the CAP the one and only Miss A. Tay.
Really?
Yes.
You know, I don't, my government name, for real, like, it might be bounty hunters after me. I'm very much so into stuff that they be tapping your phones for, and you gonna say my whole name?
I'll edit the last name out. But Tay, welcome to the CAF. How you do?
I'm doing well. Actually, yeah, I'm doing well. I was sick last week, so I'm like still getting my voice back, but I'm good.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, the first question, Tay, we asked everybody in the CAF. We stole this from Charlemagne the God. How is your mental health?
Up and down here and there. It's cool when it want to be.
When it want to be.
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, where you at today?
Today, I'm on like an 8. But mental health is like very, number one, it's important to me. Mental health is very broad, right? So maybe I'm not grieving today, but I'm overwhelmed, right? Or maybe I'm not overwhelmed, but I'm overstimulated. So, but today's about an 8. I dealt with some chaotic stuff, worked through it, and I'm here.
Now, Tay, we got you on for a big topic because I want to say last season we was talking about Black Indians, and man, that got a lot of views that I thought I wasn't gonna get. It got more views than all the stuff we did, and I'm talking about like it was even people sending me information and stuff about it that I didn't even know. So tonight, I know for a fact what we gonna learn. I know I'm gonna get some information. I know people gonna send me stuff, especially on TikTok with all the woke TikTokers out there now. But you took a trip this summer. Where did you go, Tay?
I went to Accra, Ghana. Yeah, I took a trip. I went to Accra, Ghana. And I visited the Kwame Nkrumah Museum and Memorial, which he's the first president of Ghana, and learned all about him. And that was very refreshing. Like that part of the trip was refreshing because I've always been called to much more than what we're taught in school, and definitely much more than what my parents taught me at home. And so to know that he was all about liberation and breaking Ghana free from the British rule, from the colonizers. And he succeeded. Some things backfired on him. And then, of course, Ghana is still in the state that it's in, but it's a beautiful, very, very beautiful, rich country. And then I visited the botanical gardens, Obori Gardens, which is a botanical garden, all the trees and foliage and things that were gifted from other countries to Ghana is preserved, and it is beautiful. They have 600-year-old trees. And then I went to Cape Coast Castle, which was a very, very, very emotional day. If people are not familiar with Cape Coast Castle, it is the actual site of the transatlantic slave trade.
Hold on. Don't go past that because I'm saving that because I want you to talk about that.
Okay.
I heard many people talk about it, but I'm saying I'm holding on to that. So don't kill my questions. Don't kill my questions.
And
now,
then
wait.
And then I did a Ghanaian naming ceremony. So
we'll talk about that too.
All right.
Now, what was first of all, why did you take the trip, and what was the main purpose for you to go? Because we hear people say we always need to go to Africa, always Africa, but you never hear about going to Ghana, Congo. What's my other place? Dang, I had it on the tip of my tongue. And I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the country right now. Dang, I can't think of it right now. But we always hear about going back to Africa. You didn't go to Africa. Or if I'm saying this right.
I went to Africa, but I went to Ghana, right, which is one of the countries within the continent.
Okay. No, South Africa. I'm tripping.
Yeah, no, I didn't go to South Africa.
South Africa. I'm tripping. Go ahead.
So this was a trip that was definitely a lifelong something that I had been wanting to do since I was a little girl. Just upon learning about slavery, and even though what I was taught within my lineage about slavery, I still wanted to go to Africa because I just did not understand why we would be sold, right? And forced against our will. And so the trip was initially planned pre-COVID. I was supposed to go with some classmates of mine from high school, but then COVID happened. And then I got an opportunity with my godmother, and I jumped on it. It was like, you know what? I need a break. I need a vacation. I'm, mom 24/7. And so I just went, like, no cares, just went.
Now, when you get over there, what's the emotions that's going through you? Like, as soon as the plane touched down, you got all these people standing up, and it's like, whatever. And then they finally get out of the way, and you get your luggage, and you get off the plane, and you see what you see. What is the emotions that you're going through at the time?
So when I get there, I was tired because I landed at like 1:00 in the morning. my flight was the day of that cyber security thing. So my flight from my flight from Paris was delayed to getting to Ghana. So it was late. I was tired. I was hungry. And those flights are very, very long. So I definitely recommend first class. If you're gonna take a long flight like that, you definitely need first class. But waking up the next morning was refreshing. Refreshing in the sense of I can't believe I'm here. Like, and of course, I thanked my ancestors. I thanked my spirit guides for seeing this trip through because, and I'll get into that later, but it happened. And I actually am one of the first in my family, if not the first in my family, to visit the continent of Africa on a leisure trip. Like I have a sibling who went for work, but he didn't get to see like I did. So yeah, definitely refreshed, overwhelmed, bittersweet, and grateful. Those are the feelings and emotions that I went through.
Now, knowing you didn't just go to go. You went for a purpose and a reason. Did you fulfill your purpose, or did you get your reason when you got over there? And what was some of the things, or outside the last topic we're going to talk about, but what were some of the things that just popped out to you when you did all what you did? For those who don't know, Tay is a very intellectual, spiritual person. So she reads stuff. So if it's in a book, she probably know more about it than you do.
So no shade to anybody and who and what they choose to do and be, right? I absolutely loved the fact that everybody looked like me. Everybody looked like you. No curly hair, I'm not gonna say cut that half part out, but no curly haired. Everybody was chocolate and black and natural and beautiful. Like we weren't forced to see as much mixture as there is that's going on here, if that makes sense. Right. I don't want to offend anybody, but
you ain't gotta do that. I'm gonna probably do that.
Huh?
You ain't gotta worry about that. I'll probably offend somebody else.
I am very much so pro-black. I don't, but what you eat don't make me shit. So do you. But as for me, I'm very pro-black. If my soulmate is any other race other than black, I'm probably gonna miss him because I refuse to color outside the lines. But I love that. I went to the nail shop over there. My refill was $11.40 US. If I could afford to go every 2 weeks, I would. But everybody in the nail shop, black. The restaurants, black, and I know it sounds crazy. You'd be like, well, duh, you're in Africa, but because we live in such a mixed society and the United States is such a melting pot, it was beautiful to just see us. Right? Very beautiful to just see us.
So when you see us, like, is it like one of them things like, because I know for me, when I go places, I look for me. I look for me. When I work for a company or anything, I look for me because I know if I see me, I feel more comfortable. Now, if I see me, not knowing who that person is, that person can be Uncle Tom or whatever. But when I see me, I still feel comfortable when I see me. So when you saw you everywhere, was it like you didn't have to clutch your purse? You was just like walking down the street knowing that you good.
No, I still clutch my purse because I'm American.
Gotcha.
Right? And not like, oh, I'm scared, right? But just I definitely didn't want to be targeted because I'm American, right? But I went with a group. I'm not with the whole solo travel thing. That's just me. Excuse me. But I felt safe. I felt it felt normal, right? The only I would liken it to just living in your hometown. The difference is that the roads are not paved. So if you from the country and you got roads that's still unpaved, it's the same thing, right? We stayed in an apartment, super, super, super nice. I loved it. And I had a beautiful view. So it felt like home, or what I would equate to home.
Okay. Season 8 Cal Podcast, man. We got Tay, Cal, because I already said her whole government, man. We don't know the people out here trying to get her. So we're just going to go with Tay, the designer, or whatever she want to come up with, just throw the government off. Now, let's get into the spirituals, your journey, or the purpose of the trip. So what was the first place you said you visit?
The Kwame Nkrumah Museum and Memorial.
Tell us about that.
So it's a memorial to the first president of Ghana. He was responsible for liberating Ghana from the British rule. And that you would liken him to Marcus Garvey. You would liken him to Malcolm X, right? Definitely about the liberation of the people. He was successful in doing it, but then his practices on how to keep Ghana one of the leading countries in Africa was not successful. Ghana is the number one producer of cocoa, as in chocolate, right, in the world. But what they get paid for it is nothing, right? They produce a lot of palm nuts and shea for shea butter and things like that. And what they get paid for it is nothing. And part of why they don't get paid what they should be is because the plans that Kwame Nkrumah put in place did not succeed, right? So you know how we have Amazon warehouses everywhere, right? His thought process in 1950 something, 1960s was to make factories to produce cocoa, make factories to produce everything that shea butter that you can use the shea nut for, right? And the people that he had in place, I cannot recall if they were people that he selected or if, they were appointed by the government, but they were out buying houses and, houses after houses and personal zoos and things like that. And so where the money should have been allocated to these companies, it wasn't. So the infrastructure fell. And then he ended up being, overthrown while he was on a trip to Vietnam. And he then ended up staying in, I want to say, New Guinea, and helping being the co-president there until he died. But that, just seeing that, listening, seeing who he took pictures with, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, the presidents, Marcus Garvey, and all of that, it really was a beautiful thing. So when you hear things like Pan-Africanism, right, we may hear Pan-Africanism and we may think Dr. Umar,
Yeah, first name popped in
right?
my head.
So Kwame Nkrumah, Halil Selassie, um, there's another one I can see his face, but I can't remember his name. They were the pioneers of Pan-Africanism. And what it was to take Africa, the countries in Africa, from up under British rule, French rule, right? Spanish rule. Um, and all of that came into place when the Europeans came over and started to trade slaves.
So you said something, and it's like I gotta say it's a common theme when it comes to us. Like it's like somebody always has an idea to do something great, but there always be somebody in the background. It seems like dang, what's my man? What's the movie? Jesus. Nat Turner. He started a rebellion, but it was that one. I ain't gonna say little boy because we don't know the real story. Was it a little boy that snitched on them? But they was on a rampage, killing people, getting black people free, and then they get caught. Then you had what's my man? He dang, I cannot think of his name right now because it just caught me off guard what you just said. But he was trying to do something. Then somebody told the white people, and they went and bought that out from him, and he couldn't continue doing. Hearing that the first president wanted to build centers to distribute cocoa and shea butter, but the people that was in place was doing other stuff with the money. Do you think black people we just can't get on one accord with each other to push our race forward?
So we can, right? But we have to really understand who we are as a people. So many things have been put in place to where we don't know who we are. And when I say who we are, I'm talking about not just as I'm black, I'm African American, or I'm Haitian, right? Um it happens when you think about the Haitian Revolution, when you think about all of these revolutions where there was success, that is people putting all of their resources together for a cause that's greater than them, right? My father's family is Haitian, so I understand the Haitian Revolution. I look at how hard my father's family works, and I realize like they got it, they got in there and they got it out in blood, right? When you think about how Jamaica was the plantations were overtaken by the slaves, the revolts in Jamaica. That is a bunch of different people because mind you, during this time, during that time, you got people from the Congo, you got people from Haiti, you got the Yorubas from Nigeria, all in one place. They get together, they run up against, and they succeed for a bit of time, right? But we can if we remember who we are.
Now your next visit, where did you go? You say you went to a garden, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I went to Abori Gardens. Oh my gosh, it was dope. It's a botanical gardens. So lots of trees, lots of foliage, lots of plants. Um, and a lot of the trees and plants were gifted from like palm trees from Cuba. Um, the cotton tree, right? Silk cotton comes from an actual tree that grows thousands of feet tall. Um, Frankincense tree. I literally, if I could have just took a chunk of it and brought it home because I burn frankincense in here a lot, right? I would have. Um, teas, plants that for teas that we drink, plants that literally can cure cancer are there. And we learned about them, took pictures, learned about them. And that was a beautiful thing because I am definitely a plant girly.
And so, with all that going on, once again, if all that's in that country, why can't black people really push this thing to push us to where we know we the dominant race? Because we are the dominant race, but some people don't actually believe it living in America. We're going over and see that and seeing what you saw and now knowing what you know. Like, what is going to take for us to push us to be the dominant race in our
Remembering
heads?
who we are. And with remembering, it's easy for me to say, and I could say, well, we got to remember who we are, and people probably be like, "What she mean?" Right?
Because everybody didn't see what you see.
Huh?
Everybody didn't see what you see, and on top of that, not the fact that you went over there, everybody ain't peeping or reading the stuff that you read. Like I read some. I want to say since 2015 when I really started paying attention and reading like the all the black stuff that excuse me, not black stuff, all the stuff that was created by black people, but we just never got the credit for, or they created the patent which we didn't get. So whoever when they got the patent first owned the right to that, just like the plow. What white person was in the field to even think of a plow? It was us, but we just never got the patent. So going to see what you see and knowing and reading stuff, like you say, remember who we are, but some people really just don't know who we are.
So remembering who you are is really tapping into ancestral wisdom, right? Mm-hmm. Me going to Africa was not my own idea. It was a seed that was planted within me, right? You being a podcast host and going down the career path that you were going down was not your own idea. It was a seed planted within you. Somewhere within your bloodline, someone wanted to do this and didn't get a chance to, or they did it and the seed was planted in you subconsciously to carry that out, right? You don't know how many generations ago that seed was planted, right? For once you came into existence. That's what I mean when I say by remembering who we are. We really have to get from outside of ourselves, like, and go within. We have to stop searching for things on the outside and go within to find out who am I? And not only who am I, who was my grandma? Who was my grandfather? Who was my great, 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 great? You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's how we come together to combat what gets done against us by the powers at be. Right? But there's only about 5% that are willing to do that.
Same. You just like it. What you just said, and just the stories and the history is like whenever there's always a black person who's trying to progress, it always seems like it's just somewhere down the line is gonna get ambushed. And then
you can't think like that.
I can't think like that, but it's facts.
Yeah, it's facts for them, but what happens next? Do you allow that to keep happening? Right? It's just like a kid riding a bicycle. Right? You don't automatically get on a bicycle and ride it with no hands. Right? You fall a couple of times. You assess. Then or you get help and somebody shows you like, hey, you got to balance like this. It's the same thing, right? But we tend to stay within our comfort zones.
Well, let me ask you this. What if let's just say the bike, because that happened there, but I don't know how many times it happened over here, but I do know it happened over here. Let's just say the bike is from America. Do you think we should change the bike?
It's the mindset, right? the bike is gonna be a bike forever. It is what you do with the bike. We are all given tools, right? We're all given tools. It's what we do with the tools that helps us. It's what we do as a collective with those tools. I see you having trouble riding your bike and I know how to ride one. I'm going to show you what to do. Or I'm going to help you. I'm going to hold it until you get your balance. I may hold it from the handlebars till you get your balance. Then I'll just hold it from the seat. And eventually I'm going to let go. And the whole time you understand what I'm saying? You think that I'm still there and I'm not. Right? It's what are you going to do with those tools that are given to you to defeat this monster?
Season 8 Cal Podcast. We got Miss Tay in here. We got a little bit deep. We didn't get too deep because I'm trying to hold on to talk about the last thing. But you did say something about there are what was it called? You say you burn it a lot.
Frankincense.
What is frankincense? Because I don't have a clue what that is.
It is a resin. So it could be a resin. It's it's not an herb. I don't forgot the darn name of it. It's like a mineral, right? But it comes from a tree, frankincense tree. But it comes like in a resin form, and you can burn it on top of coal as an incense, and it clears air and energy. Smells really good. Excuse me. So, but they have frankincense and myrrh, right? They talk about that in the Bible. It is burned to clear out energies.
And then you say they had some a plant that can cure cancer, but it'll never make it over here.
It did no. It's here. It's in Jamaica. It's in Trinidad. It's in quite a few different places. It grows here and it's known as bitter melon, but you have to take it in certain doses. And definitely you get worse before you get better. And I'll just put a little pin and let you know that cancer is yes, it is a physical thing, but it's a mental thing too. Right. So that's something that we got to tackle as well, our mental.
Okay. Now let's get to it. Because it is a certain place where our ancestors had to go through, where they were traded as slaves, where, if I'm correct, what I've seen, there's a door that they had to go through, and if they wasn't skinny enough, they starved them so they could fit through the door.
So to answer that, there's a couple of different entrances and exits, but there within the male dungeons, there is closed off now, but there was a way out to the beach, the shore, and you had to be hunched over, to get through it. The females, yes, there was a body size and type that they sent over.
So, what was the name of the place again? So for all the people out there who don't know.
Cape Coast Castle.
Cape Coast Castle. Tell us about that. How was that experience for you? And before you, well, let me go back. What was the energy you felt when you got near it? Because that's the sign everybody did whenever they talk about it on YouTube.
Because for me, it was very emotional. It's still very emotional. when I got there, there was this very thick energy. Um, as you know, when I'm in public places or when I am expending my energy, I cover my head up. And I do that because I am what the church would call an intercessor, right? Mm-hmm. But a spiritual medium. So energies come to me, spirits come to me, and they use me to send messages. And sometimes they like to come home. And so I covered up, and of course, there's a lot of no, you can't come with me communication going on. And that was even before stepping into the castle, like within the castle compound. That was like outside. Getting into the castle compound was very somber. I could hear a lot of moans and groans. They were muffled. I could hear a lot of children running around. Lots of children's laughter, right? We were sitting in one room and you could just hear the floorboards creaking and everybody's sitting down. Nobody's walking around, right? And so that was something that was very, very hard. Like in that moment, I was ready to go. Because you mean I'm finna tour this whole place? I'm ready to go. We went through and we saw where the captain, his living quarters, it was very airy and breezy, and you could see the ocean and you could feel the breeze coming through, and it was very bright and lit up. And then we went to where the church was. The church is now a children's library. Excuse me.
I didn't know it was a church now.
Yeah, these were Christians.
As you were.
So, when you're looking at the church doors, to the left, there's a hole, and if you misstep, you could fall into it. But down in that hole is what was the male dungeon. And so as the Europeans are going into church, they can smell and hear the groans and the moans, and they can smell the body feces and the death, because these men are chained up. So if the person next to you die, he just there dead as they're going into church. In that moment, I was angry. And when I say I was angry, I couldn't have went home. I'm glad I was in Africa and I wasn't going home to where I live, because everybody could have got it then. After that, we went into the male dungeon.
Hold on. Before you skip past that. So you telling me they would come have church and smell all that because there's a hole there and still have church?
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that this is the same God that everybody serves.
It can't be, because it's.
Well,
excuse me. I wasn't there. Go ahead. I wasn't there.
Right.
I wasn't born until 1987. I wasn't there. Go ahead.
I'm assuming, right? As for me and my house, we do what we do. But yeah, in that moment, I was very angry because one thing that you cannot, I'm very much so a person of justice. Right is right, wrong is wrong. You can't convince me otherwise. Knowing that Christianity was forced upon us as a people by these same people who enslaved us and who killed, right, my brothers and my sisters and my daddy and my grandpa in that time period, I got a problem with that. But that's a problem that I have to deal with on my own, right? So we go into the male dungeons and it's thick, it's heavy. It's heavy in there. You all right?
Yeah, I'm writing stuff down.
Oh.
I had to find my face.
I
have to, because I going in like that shit is not like resonating because you tell me you gonna have church. I don't care who your God is, whatever God you believe in at that time, whatever they're doing. There's a hole that you say, and it's where black men. Let's just take the color out. It's just men down there, and you sitting in church talking about your God, but you can smell death. You can smell all that. We know you ain't bathing them. You're probably just throwing water on them, and water in a condensed place. That don't mean they clean. It just mean you threw water on them and they still funky and musky. And you gonna sit in a church? I like I couldn't do. I could barely sit next to somebody who ain't got deodorant on. You tell me I'm finna sit in the church and I know it's stink.
I mean, let's be real. They don't know any better. We taught them to bathe. We taught them that they're not supposed to sleep in the same place that their animals are sleeping in. We taught them that they're not supposed to be throwing their shit water outside their door. Right? They get to Africa and they like, wait a minute, they've had plumbing. It don't stink around here. We taught them that. So what's the best revenge? You've been sailing around the world, right? You've been trading spices. You've been trading herbs. You've been teaching people math and how to write in the alphabet. And we over here eating each other. We over here got cows in the kitchen, walking around with shit all on our shoes. Excuse my language. I don't know if I can cuss.
We tried that our first season. We tried to do a little PG-13. 2 episodes in, cursing, we just showed the tits, and somebody rolled up a blunt. We passed that. Say how you want to feel. If you want to light up, go ahead and light up.
Yeah, so I'd be mad too if I go somewhere and I find out that like, oh, life is better here. And they rich, right? Gold. Africa is full of everything that we need. Gold, cobalt, everything that we need to live. Oil. Africa's full of it. So, and Europeans want to do nothing but take in the name of God. That's why I have a problem with that. I can't serve the same God that you serve, knowing that that's how you think. Knowing that that is why we as a people cannot come together on one accord, right? Because you teach us to take, and that's not our culture. Not only that, to hear the cries of 406 years ago, like they're standing next to me asking for help. These souls are not at rest. There's no amount of prayer that can put those souls to rest. Imagine being chained up next to everybody that you graduated with, y'all chained together, and you're being led out of a dark place. It was dark in them dungeons. The only light that shone was the light from our phones when they closed those doors behind us. And knowing that you chained up next to this person and that person don't want to go. So what do? They jump. You going too. Right? So for me, in that moment, it took one of my ancestors to make it from Ghana to the United States. It just took one. It took one of my ancestors to make it from Congo to Haiti. Just one. To get me there. So I know that my trip was not in vain, and I cannot make my trip in vain, right? And I'll get into that later. The male dungeons were heavy. They were much bigger than the female dungeons. And mind you, a lot of these slaves were not just from Ghana. Like these, they had some that were coastal and some that were inland, right? Different tribes. So
yeah, break that down.
Right, I'm a seamstress. So my tribe would be one that uses a lot of wherever the silk cotton tree grows, that's what we use an abundance of. So my tribe trades with your tribe who might be a warrior. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mandingo, I get you.
We would trade. Maybe my tribe makes the garments that y'all wear, right? Your tribe, when you go out and hunt, brings us back some of what you killed, right? And so what the Europeans did was they pitted everybody against each other, where at one point in time we worked in unison. Now, did we have intertribal wars? Yeah, you know, we fought with one another, but it was never anything where a mass amount of people are being killed, because we as African blooded people are communal people. Naturally, we are communal people. So where I have this and you have that, we're going to work together and everybody's going to live. Everybody's going to eat. Right? And I'll be honest, in my studies, even before I went to Ghana, in my studies, a lot of the slave trade was not intentional on the part of Black people. They hired us to navigate their ships because we had already been traveling around the world, right, prior to the slave trade. They built, especially the Vikings, they built the ships. We navigated them, right? It wasn't either until we went down into the belly of the ship and found out what was down there that you realize you smuggling slaves, right? The main purpose of the slave trade was because the Europeans got to these lands, Cuba, Jamaica, Trinidad, Haiti, the United States, and they tried enslaving the natives. But as a native, if somebody put you in the back of their trunk and you lay there long enough, these turns, where they picked you up from, and these turns, right? you know how to get back home once you get from where you're at, once you get out of the trunk. So Nat Turner and them were native to the United States, right? That's where you get your Black Indians. They couldn't hold us, right? My grandmother, my mother's mother, was an Indian, and as a little girl, she used to always tell me that we were not African because we were here before the Africans. And I didn't understand what she meant by it until now, right? I understand it now. The Indians had been here. And I always say, this probably sounds crazy, right? But I always say, you could tell somebody that's a native, you could tell somebody that's African. Because when you take somebody who speaks a different language and you bring them to somewhere that they don't know where they are, they're gonna be docile. They're gonna go along with whatever they're being told. But when you got somebody that is from Jacksonville, right? I ain't doing that. You want me to what? No, right? So you can tell the people who wasn't fit to be slaves, right? That's a literal genetic thing. And when I think back on it, with Granny saying we wasn't slaves, the day I joined the army, my mama was like, I ain't never seen somebody who don't do what they told to do decide to go to the military. And sure enough, you want me to what? I'm not. Right? So, coming back around, the males go out of the male dungeon, like they don't go into a courtyard and see light. They literally go from that dungeon through a hole that's in the dungeon. It's closed up now, through a hole out into the ocean. And there were some that definitely did not make it out of the dungeons. There were some that decided that they were not going to make that way across the sea. And then there were some that were in the middle of the sea and decided that they wasn't going to go. And to those ancestors, we always pay homage. Because I definitely would have been one of them ones that I'm gone. You want me to? Nah. I'm going to do it myself. I can't live that life.
So how was the female dungeon? Because that probably was like a dungeon / rape house.
It was two separate ones. They would pick out the ones that they wanted to have sex with. They would make sure that she wasn't on her cycle, and they would wash her up, they would feed her, and they would rape her. But they would, before doing all of that, they would keep her in what we would probably equate to as solitary confinement, right? She can't see nothing. It's dark. The space is very cramped for just her. And if a woman was pregnant, they would hold her until she had the baby, and then they would send her over. The child would stay because these are children of slave masters. They would brand the slaves. And when I was told that, it made me, they would pierce their ears, they would brand them, you know, they would put different markings on them. And people often ask me what my tattoos mean. And I don't have a tattoo that does not have a significant meaning. And it made me think, there's things that we do now without thought. Those are traumas that have been passed down intergenerationally, right? We pierce our babies' ears at a very young age. They were piercing the ears of the slaves. Now, in some cultures, ear piercing is a tribal thing, right? But as for this, it was to identify who you belong to coming off of the Ivory Coast or the Gold Coast. Ivory Coast is Nigeria. The Gold Coast is Ghana.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I feel like I'm rambling.
I'm listening because I like what you're saying is basically the last 3 minutes you just talked about the piercing and about the tattoos and branding. It's like you said it's like drama. What is it? Drama bond or whatever.
Trauma.
What did you say?
A trauma response.
Yeah, like we do that. You know, your baby girl get born. I don't know how long they wait, but sooner or later her ears gonna get pierced. And then we up here getting tattoos and all this other stuff, not knowing like the Samoans, they get it because of their heritage and all that stuff. But you got people got thug life tatted on them. Like me, I got stuff tatted on me, but it means something to me. But I don't know if it really means anything to the trauma bonding that you talking about.
I mean, it doesn't. It's not so much of like.
And by the way, you wasn't rambling. You were speaking a lot of truth to matter.
Okay. Because I know like these things are things that this is who I am.
Well,
right?
I'm a history geek.
Like, so and that's it, right? I don't consider myself a history geek, because for me it's very. This is what happened. This is what's happening now. How much different is it? Right? When I was listening to the guy tell us everything, I automatically was taken back to when I was in the military. When you're in the military, before going overseas, you go through a readiness process. And they make sure that you are physically fit. They take your measurements. They, get you fitted for the equipment that you need. They have you write a will. And if you're not fit for duty, you stay back. It's the same thing that they did. If them women wasn't fit, she was pregnant, she stayed back until she had that baby. Military does the same thing. I don't know how it works within sports, right? But I've heard how the combines are almost like an auction block. So how much different is it really between 16, 19 and now? It's not much different. Technology has changed.
When it comes to that part, you got to read this book. It's called The $40 Million Slave by William Rose. But it breaks down the black people and the history in sports. Like this is something that I didn't know, but a lot of people don't know that the first black athlete was a jockey. I can't think of this man's name, but he was considered one of the richest jockeys, and he was a black man in the world. Like he was making $12,000 a year. If you accumulate to now, that's almost like close to about with inflation, it went up. It's close to him making like $7.8 million a year back then. Plus, every time he won, he got 30 acres of land.
Mm.
So picture a black man making $12,000 a year back in the early 1800s in Kentucky. When he got done, I think he had over close to about 400 acres of land in Kentucky, which they stole it from him because they was trying to kill him and his wife. So he fled to Europe, where he did the same thing he did in America, build up his name, won some money, but still this time he didn't let the European take his land. He fought back, but they killed him, killed his wife, killed his kid, and took his land in Europe. If he was able to accumulate all what he had, this man would have probably accumulated in today's time. They said he would accumulate close to about $100 million in over 15,000 acres of land. Just between Kentucky and I can't remember where he was in Europe.
Yeah, you'll have to send me the book. I'll get it.
Surely will.
Years ago, I had an opportunity to learn up under Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She's now an ancestor. And she equated our Black men and she did a study about sports and Black people. The sports that the most Black men play have one thing in common. The balls are the same color and they're large. The sports that mostly white men play have one thing in common. The balls are small. Golf, tennis, right? Baseball, hockey. You know that's not a ball, it's a puck. But and who owns now you have more melanated people owning sports teams. But prior to that, who was it? Them good old boys. Right? And we are quick to say, love it doesn't have a color and marry who you want, love who you want to love. That's cool. But one thing that I tell people, because I'm also a funeral director, one thing that I tell people, especially brothers, white boys know what they're doing. They've been knowing what they're doing. Right? The problem is that they have brainwashed us so much that we don't see it until it's too late. They're going to let you marry their white daughter. And they're going to let you have a couple of kids and pray that it's not a boy. But as soon as they get rid of you, all the land that's yours by airship is now hers, which means now it belongs to her daddy. So they're going to get this land one way or the other. They're going to either try to buy it from you or they're going to let you fall in love with their love, Debbie, Susanna, or whoever, and they still going to get it. Right?
You got to read that book because it talks about how it talks about everything from HBCUs, football, and Jackie Robinson. And if you read that book, you'll realize that Jackie Robinson technically wasn't a hero. He was a sellout. I
mean, aren't they all?
Yeah, he was a sellout because oh man, I'm gonna give you this book, real talk, because what happened, I can't think of it. Once again, I haven't read this book in a while, but I just remember so much from it. There was a Black man who was the owner of the Negro Leagues. And he, at the time, baseball with the baseball teams, they really wasn't doing much. Like when you think about what Jackie Robinson did when he crossed over, and then more Black players started cross over, it wasn't just the fact that it was Black people in the major leagues. It was the fact that they killed so many people with jobs and ownership because a Black minor league baseball team, it had a Black vendor. It had a Black ticket salesman. It had a Black popcorn man, T-shirt man, all this. So you got the Negro League games selling out, buying tickets, but so is the popcorn man, the beer man, the soda man. Now these Black players are leaving. Well, the numbers going down because their favorite player ain't there no more. They had the white stadium, so now the popcorn man who was making, let's say back then $100 a game, he now only making $40 because now it's going down. The T-shirt guy, all that's going down. And what the owner of the Negro League wanted to do was he told the white man, "Hey, look, make my league your minor league. Take every last franchise that's in my league and make it your farm club. So where now you can pick from the farm club what you wanted. And if they was on the verge of doing that, if they would have did that, you would have still had the Negro League around where it could have been. It's like the G League of the NBA, and where Negro ownership and Negro vendors and everybody else will be still making money today. But when Jackie Robinson crossed over, the white man was like, "Well, I don't need you no more. I can just go pick players from you," and that's the whole. And that's how the Negro League died. It's a lot. You got. I'm gonna make sure you get the book because
I got it pulled up on Amazon.
Okay.
I mean, I have a home library, so
I know this. They don't know this, but when I read that book, it opened my eyes to a lot, especially dealing with HBCU football and all that. And the one about I'm gonna stop talking about it. But HBCUs hurt themselves.
how?
It wasn't because the coaches, the schools were like, where else can these black kids go? Why do we need to upgrade the facilities? Why do we need to upgrade the dorms? Why do we need to upgrade our athletic program? They ain't got nowhere else to go. They got to come to us. That was their mindset at the time. Their mindset wasn't take our money and build it. Nah, they got no choice. So we gonna continue making this money, give them what they got, treat them like that because they have nowhere else to go. And it took one football player to go play for the University of Southern Cal. And that one football player in that team when they played the University of Alabama and beat them. And that was the end of HBCU's dominance. Because why would I go to Alcorn State, Grambling, Mississippi Valley, FAMU, Bethune, Morgan State, where I don't see no progress. But I see progress at Alabama. They got fried chicken every day. I see progress at the University of Florida. I see progress at South Carolina, University of Southern Cal, Notre Dame. Why would I go to them school when I could go to them school and live better? I might deal with a lot of racism, but at least I'm going to have somewhere to sleep. Good and better.
So remember the question you asked me earlier about why it seemed like we just can't get on one accord? That's a perfect example.
I know.
Right.
That's why I told you when you said what you said about that, like so many stories just popped in my head like another one. And this
we are quick to find a reason to not support our own. Quick. But we'll go and run out and support somebody that don't look like us.
Yeah. So okay, so I got 3 more questions because I don't want to hold you up all night. My first question, as I wrap up, I know what you're probably gonna say, but I still gotta ask: should every last black person make this a mandatory trip?
Not if you're not going to be intentional about learning and using the information for forward progress. Right? I could have chosen to go anywhere in the world, but I chose to go to Africa. I have trips lined up, and those trips are, yes, to enjoy myself and have fun, but also to learn. Because at the end of the day, who are you? Right? In order to know where you're going, you have to know where you're coming from, and you have to remember where you've been. Right? So, should everyone go? Yes, but be intentional about why you're going. You're not going to go and actually take that information that's been given to you and learn more about it and research it and then apply it. You're just going for leisure. And that's okay, right? That ain't for learning is not for everybody. But I highly recommend to learn.
Okay. My second question: if you had the opportunity and the resources, would you have moved over there?
No.
And then my last question, going through, say it again, the Cape,
Cape
what's the
Coast
name?
Castle.
Cape Coast Council. I was about to say Cape Canaveral. I don't know why, but that's in Florida. That's where the that
NASA,
cruise ship is.
right?
Cruise ship.
Ain't that's
Cruise.
not where NASA be?
Oh no, excuse me. You is right. I'm thinking Port Canaveral. Cape Canaveral is where NASA at in Florida. And then my last question: as you walking through that building, seeing what you're seeing and hearing the stories, I know you said it, but the emotions, did it really just feel like we should just start our own revolution and kill these white people? And I'm gonna edit that part out, make sure, because I don't want to start no shit.
Um,
I'm lying. I ain't gonna edit that part. I need them to get the full context of the story.
my emotions range from rage to anger, sadness, heartbreak, and gratefulness. I will forever say gratefulness because, like I said before, it only took one of my ancestors to make it on this side of the world to get me there. And it only took that seed to be planted to go there. So I'll forever be grateful for the opportunity that I got to go. But I'm not going to say that we should revolt or anything like that. I will say that we should make a shift to definitely come together as a people. And we cannot let differences, because really there are really no differences between you and I. Right? So we can't let differences come between us when the greater good is to Black Wall Street it up, right? DC in the 90s, Chicago in the 90s, where it's chocolate cities. Like these are chocolate cities. So yeah, I definitely, their fear, the white man's fear is us getting on one accord.
No.
And if we come together and really put differences aside, when you really, really study these things deep, a lot of these slave revolts, them people wasn't Christians. You had some people that was believing in voodoo. You had some people that was believing in the Yoruba traditions. But the one thing they all had in common was grab a bullet every time you go in master's room, right? Learn how to make gunpowder, learn how to do all of these things. Like we taught them these things. Why are we not using the tools that we have?
Season 8 Cal Podcast, man. We got Tay in here. Now, Tay, we do have our Cal Pods questions. Some of the questions going to be one or the other. Some going to be fill in the blank. But if you try to play us, we'll be on this bitch all night until we get an answer. So the first question, Tay, love or money?
Love all day long.
Financial literacy or health literacy?
Your health is your wealth.
All right. This one you can pick 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 3, but you can't pick all 3. T-shirt and panties, lingerie, or nothing at all?
Nothing at all, a t-shirt and panties.
Hey, what brings you peace?
My goddamn home. Nah. What brings me my home for real? Like this is a listen. People walk in here and they be like, "Can I get a blanket, a good book, some good tea at home?"
Okay. Do you think black women get labeled as aggressive when they just being assertive? And can people tell the difference?
Because black women are misunderstood, I'm gonna say yes. People cannot tell the difference because we're very misunderstood.
Gotcha. Hey, if you had to describe your sex life with a movie, what movie would it be?
It got to be one movie.
You could, whatever movie describe your sex life, what would it be?
A little bit of Ghost mixed with Jason's lyric.
A little bit of Ghost mixed with Jason Lyric. For all you young people, please go watch Ghost. Please go watch Jason Lyric because you probably don't know what the hell she talking about.
How young are the people that's watching?
I don't know. Well, let me say this: we do. I can take that back because when I check YouTube, our demographic is between 26 to 40.
Okay, so they definitely should know.
They should know about Ghost and
about
Jason
Ghost
Lyric.
and Jason's lyric.
Okay, now this season is Truth or Dare.
Right.
So before I ask this question, Tay, pick a number between 10 and 30.
11.
11. Tay, is your body count under that or over that?
Over.
Okay. Okay, that was it there. Now the truth. Tay, what is your biggest insecurity about yourself?
My knowledge.
Tay, can you name the 3 branches of government?
Hell no. Judicial, legislative. No. Edit that out. Ask me something different.
No, that's you got 2 out of 3 right. Judicial, legislative, and the last one, the executive.
Yeah. No, because the government isn't real. But that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother. Tay, what is something in your life that you tried to change but end up accepting it for what it is? What is something in your life that you tried to change but you end up accepting it for what it is?
My oddness. I'm an odd being. I just accepted it for what it is.
Tay, what are 5 values that make a woman a good wife?
Knowledge of self.
Knowledge of self.
The ability to make something out of nothing.
The ability to make something out of nothing.
Resilience.
Resilience.
Strength.
Strength.
But I think those 2 are the same. The capacity to love.
Capacity to love. That's fine. I just want to keep going.
That's fine.
You say the other 2 the same thing. So you give me one more.
And the ability to balance.
Okay, what is your superpower? What is the thing you do better than anybody in the world?
Read people like a book. Having just met them.
And then our last question is a cow pie question we've been asking since season 2. Who has the better pancakes, Whataburger or Cracker Barrel?
Who eats at Cracker Barrel?
A lot of people.
Whataburger, because they made to order.
Okay, so that's 1-0 starting off the season. Okay, so Tay, this is part of the show where we give you the flow. You can promote what you want to promote. Say what you want to say. The floor is yours.
So, I'm a seamstress. I make clothes. This dress is for sale. Yeah, I'm a seamstress. A third generation seamstress. My grandmother was a seamstress. My mom was a seamstress. I am now it. I've been sewing for 13 years. And I don't know, that's it. I can't think of anything else. I'm not good at talking about myself.
I know. That's why I did this part on purpose. So I could at least put that video of the new dress that you had up. So, last two questions.
Okay.
And they both are truth or dare. So
Okay.
the first one gonna be the truth. Tay, do you think people fear telling the truth about themselves?
Yes. Yes.
And then a dare. What is something that you have to do to get out of your comfort zone?
That's a good question. What do I have to do to get out of my comfort zone? Post more on social media.
Well, before we get up out here, Tay, I just gotta ask, what you use on your skin? Because you really glowing tonight.
What do I use on my skin?
Yeah, because you glowing tonight. Top of the chest, shoulders, arms, all that. Brown
He's standing outside in the backyard, butt naked, when it's sunny outside.
I'm gonna make sure that I make it. That's gonna be a clip.
And I use a mixture of oils that I make.
No, that part don't matter no more. Too. I need all women to stand outside butt naked when the sun is outside.
Oh yeah, you have to have me back so I can give those tips.
Well,
on how the sun and the moon gets us together.
Yeah, that's gonna be a clip. So, Tay, thank you for getting on the couch. Thank you for being a guest. Thank you for your knowledge. I really do appreciate this. And if you already know, if you need something from me, you can always call me.
All right.
My phone is open to you, girl. Season 8 Cal Podcast. Truth is there. We got the lovely, the one and only Miss Tay on here talking about her trip and everything around it, plus more. And oh, by the way, if you want to get more information and knowledge, hit her up, follow her, because I promise you, she got a book of stuff that we probably didn't even scratch the surface about tonight. I just kept it, I'll be honest with you, I kept it real bland and on topic. But this right here, the conversation can turn into something else. But Tay, once again, thank you. Queer and Perk couldn't make it, but I held it down. Like I always say, we're going to get better and do better. And y'all have a good night.
G14 classified. That's good.
Headline, Starlight.
DJ Star.
Go.